Weapons in TF2 have always seemed like a strange case to me. On one hand, these weapons are all incredibly balanced in design, minus a few of them, but on the other hand, there aren't enough cool water guns and various household objects in my favorite game. Sorry, I had a few feathers stuck in my mouth there. So I originally wanted to make a bunch of TF2 weapons based off Splatoon weapons, but then I procrastinated making the script of it, and then other people decided to do the same thing, so I wasn't being original, but hey, at least the script is done now. Huge shoutouts, by the way, to Garden Asada and other creators that have done this concept in their own videos. I'll provide links to those in case you wanted to watch more concepts being thrown around. Also, let me lay down some ground rules before we start this video. While these are Team Fortress 2 weapons, my goal in making these was to more closely replicate the Splatoon equivalents rather than making weapons that are entirely based on TF2 weapons that just sort of look like Splatoon weapons or anything else of this sort. While I did try to stay within the laws of TF2, aka none of these weapons can allow you to swim through ink, I did also want to emulate the Splatoon weapon as best as I could, given the TF2 equivalents. I'll be sure to note what TF2 weapon these are based on, and what Splatoon weapon these are based on as well. For this video, I'm mainly just going to be showing off the main weapon of each weapon class for this video, as going through all my ideas would take way too long for one single video, but do let me know if you'd like to see more of my ideas in the comments, and I'll be sure to make this a series. Finally, these are definitely not going to be balanced. I wouldn't have the ability to test these in game, let alone in a server filled with people, so I wouldn't have any accurate data to balance these weapons accordingly. This will be just for fun. But if you have any ideas on how to balance these weapons, or just in general what Splatoon weapons you'd like to see in TF2, be sure to leave your ideas down in the comments below. Also subscribe, as I do wacky content like this on a semi-regular basis. And with that, let's begin with the splatter shot. The splatter shot, or the ink shot as I call it, would be another pistol for both the scout and engineer. And, as you'll see later on in the video, these weapons shoot out globs of ink instead of bullets. Don't worry, this isn't a new projectile, it acts basically like a tracer bullet. Think of the capper, the laser pistol reskin for both scout and engineer, but with ink instead of lasers. The main gimmick of this weapon is that there is no reload. What does this mean exactly? Well, instead of using up a clip and having to reload the clip when it runs out, you can just keep on shooting, much like some Mini's heavy... I said Mini's heavy gun. Well, instead of using up a clip and having to reload the clip when it runs out, you can just keep shooting, much like the Heavy's minigun. In addition, you get 35% extra ammo on the pistol, allowing you to fire the pistol for longer. However, there is a trade-off for this. The longer you hold the fire button, the more the bullets deviate, up to a maximum of 3 degrees. This is on top of the normal deviation that you already get when firing most guns for a long time. This is just meant for quick bursts, rather than sustained fire. The bullet deviation does go away after a second of not firing, much like normal bullet deviation. Looking back, I definitely could have added a more impactful downside, as otherwise this is just a straight buff to the pistol, but I think a concept like this would be fun if balanced properly. Yes, I did make another one for the hero shot, and I am indeed counting it on this list. Yippee. Also, this is before the Order replicas and Octoshot were released for Splatoon 3, so I did not make those ones. Don't worry, the white slosher isn't going to be in this video. I could call it something else, but I don't want to get demonetized. Let me know also if you'd like to see them have different stats, or if you just like to have a reskin. And also, yes, this isn't a reskin of the ink shot, but has entirely new stats. This is a new pistol exclusive to the engineer, because God knows that we need more of those. This is similar in concept to the Widowmaker. However, instead of getting metal back when shooting and using metal as your ammo, this weapon instead does more damage the more metal you have and regenerates your metal passively. However, you have less pistol ammo in general, and you deal less damage when you have less metal, and a whopping 0 when you have no metal, though this will rarely happen due to the regenerating metal stat. I have a feeling bumping a secondary ammo capacity penalty up to 50% less ammo would be better, or using metal as ammo, but otherwise I'm really happy with the concept. It grants Widowmaker Engineer another weapon to toy around with and could help you get back metal that you lost by missing your shot. Pretty good weapon, all things considered. Would this replace the Wrangler? Obviously not. The weapon is busted. Would it be a good secondary option? Yes, absolutely. The Roller is up next as the Paint Train. Oh wait, the Paint Train is already a weapon in TF2. It's the Paint Train. There you go. Problem solved. Originally, this was going to be a pyro-only melee, being based off the power jack, but I decided to make it universal, as it would be an interesting universal melee weapon. The paint train, similar to Demo Man's swords, has a large melee range but deploys in holster slower. It also has no random critical hits, again like Demo Man's swords. The unique property of the paint train is that it does mini crits from behind, evoking a similar concept to sharking in Splatoon and smacking someone with the roller when they least expect it. It also kind of works like the old extinguisher, but we're gonna just sweep that under the rug. The trade-off is that it is much slower to swing, much like how it would be to swing an actual paint roller in real life. Originally, this weapon would do full crits from behind, however that would basically be spy backstabs but for the entire team, so I decided against it. Very simple in concept, I know, but the roller is a very simple weapon, and they didn't want to bog down a melee weapon by giving it a secondary ink projectile. The Slat Charger is up next as a sniper weapon. This has the benefit of being faster at charging and dealing more damage when fully charged, but the trade-off is that it deals less damage when not charged, and like in Splatoon, has 0 headshot potential. This would definitely not be as good as any of the other options, as not having a quick way to dispatch light classes would be terrible. However, I do think it would be fun to have in maps that have more cover, as it will allow you to charge up shots without being instantly decimated by other snipers, or other players really. I also wanted to point out this wasn't originally the design of the weapon. Originally, I made it so that the sniper rifle had less range the less charge you had. However, considering most weapons in TF2 have bullets that do go on forever, I think that would be impossible unless the shot was actually a projectile, which would also have its own issues. I also originally wanted to pierce through enemies, but there's already another sniper weapon that did that, and I didn't want to tread on its toes too much. So this is what I ended up with. While not fully accurate, it does still have similar properties as the original Splat Charger, while being a fun alternative. Or potentially not fun, I don't know. Up next, the Slosher is a pyro weapon. This was loosely based off the Dragon's Fury in TF2, but I say loosely because as you'll see, this one is a bit weird. Instead of a fireball that doesn't obey gravity, it instead throws out a fast-moving glob of ink that extinguishes teammates and coats enemies in ink, which is basically just reskin Afterburn. It also restores more health to extinguished teammates, and deals more damage per projectile. However, it doesn't have an air blast, since we already have a method of extinguishing teammates, and last I checked, the Slosher can't air blast. Now again, this probably wouldn't be the best pyro flamethrower in the world, as no air blast is very detrimental, as seen on the Phlogistonator. However, it would be very fun to use, as the glob of ink would obey gravity allow for curves, like in Splatoon, allowing you to hit around and over cover. Also, we can't have a heavy Slatling remake without putting it on the heavy. This is a very stripped down version of what I originally planned as well. But since the minigun already closely resembles Splatoon the tongue twister in my game, holy f. This is a very stripped down version of what I originally planned, but since the minigun already closely resembles Splatoon's Splatlings, I didn't have to do much actual work to get this one to feel similar. The stats on this one are very simple, faster setup time, but less ammo and slightly less damage. What I originally planned was having Heavy be able to move faster while revving up the gun, but also have to rev up the gun in order to shoot for a set duration. Though after some peer feedback, I decided against it. This would be a very neat side grade, but the Tommy Saw would still probably come out as number 1. We've gotten most of this video without mentioning a soldier once, so I thought it was right we get into the blaster. Visually, the rockets are replaced by explosive ink globs and paint the floor when they explode. Don't worry, again, I made the promise of not having the paint do anything other than be a visual effect, so the paint would just be a visual quirk. This one mainly focuses on the explosion part of the rocket, as it would have a larger explosion radius and more explosion damage. However, it would not random crit, would fire slower, and you have less ammo to work with, since the blasters are very ink-hungry weapons in Splatoon. This one was also one that was very different before, as the explosive ink could actually explode mid-air after a bit of time, making Soldier a bit more of a midline class than he already is. However, I'm satisfied with how this turned out now, and it would be a pretty good side grade, all things considered. We also couldn't go the entire video without mentioning my third favorite Frenchman, the Spy. So here's a knife in the shape of a paintbrush, specifically the ink brush. This one was based off the Your Eternal Reward, but instead of automatically disguising you, it instead allows you to more easily get away. This weapon basically functions like the Your, but it instead instantly cloaks you when you backstab someone. So it isn't the best for chain stabbing, but if you need a quick pick and the ability to quickly get out, this would be the one for you. As an addendum, let's say when you cloak this way, your cloaking sound is also completely silent, and you instantly transition to the cloak state. The trade-off with this, however, is that when you uncloak, you leave behind a puddle of ink, basically marking that there is a spy in the area, much like the Spicicle. You also don't get any additional cloak when stabbing someone, meaning you need to have some cloak in order to get use out of this weapon effectively, otherwise you'll just instantly decloak and give away your location. I absolutely adore this idea, and it's an interesting secret to your eternal reward. Rather than rewarding chain stabs, it allows the spy to get one quick pick quite easily and escape just as easily. It also rewards good cloak management, as more cloak allows you to get to a further distance away from your enemies. Since we gave an exclusive weapon to the engineer, it's only right that we gave Scott something in return. This would be a scattergun, but will function more like a pistol. Similar to the ink shot, this also does not have a reload, and it increases the amount of ammo you have on this weapon as a whole. However, there's a damage penalty of 25%. To also encourage use of these over a scattergun, let's say these fire 50% faster, since they're two guns. Yes, I know that I really shouldn't be adding to these after the fact, but since this idea is very weird, as this is essentially dual pistols in the primary slot, I had to make these adjustments to not confuse the ever-loving daylights out of people. On another end of the complexity spectrum, let's give Engineer a new shotgun with this Splatbrella. Yes, this is a text wall, however, it is necessary to explain what I want from this weapon. Holding fire allows you to open up the canopy, just like in Splatoon. And yes, this does mean you have to tap fire in order to shoot the shotgun itself. The canopy blocks shots from the front and has health, much like in Splatoon. When you press right click, it launches the canopy, granting it increased health. The canopy comes back after 8 seconds when the launch is over, which is 5 seconds long, or when the canopy gets destroyed, either when holding it out or when it's moving forward. It also has the benefit of firing a fixed shot pattern, but you have less shots in your clip and using the canopy costs metal. Again, this is way overcomplicated for a TF2 weapon, but this is the one where I really wanted it to be almost exactly like Splatoon, so this is what I came up with. I also don't know how much metal it would use when using the canopy, so let me know how you would balance it. Otherwise, this is a very good option for the engineer. If engineer finds himself in a sticky situation, he can use a shield in order to defend himself or his teammates. Launching the shield can also provide a good bit of pushing power, or just acting as a defensive decoy. I think this weapon would be a ton of fun, though it might need some simplification. We're finally onto the last few weapons of the day. Thank God my voice is fucking... Starting with the Tri-Stinger's Medic Syringe Gun. Now it probably wouldn't be as big as it looks in Splatoon, as they would most likely be the size of the Crusader's Crossbow or the Huntsman. I also chose the name because it's a fishing pole made to be a bow, and it's a fishing pun. Very hilarious, I know. With that being said, this weapon would fire 3 explosive bolts that heal teammates and deal damage to enemies. This would be kind of similar in design to the Crusader's Crossbow, but it still pulls from syringe guns. The projectiles move faster than the Crusader's crossbow bolts, but as a trade-off, it uses 3 ammo per shot, and would likely also have 3 ammo in the clip. It would also have reduced primary ammo reserves. I also put in the no headshot stat because the Crusader's crossbow did it, and I wanted to be on trend. Now this would not have the same stat that the Crusader's crossbow has, where the projectile deals more damage and heals more the farther away you are from the target. It would have the standard damage fall-off curve, albeit maybe a bit less severe considering this weapon is a backlighting weapon in Splatoon 3. Otherwise, I think this would be a pretty cool option, and would have a good reason to pick it over the crossbow. Would you rather have one shot that has a chance of healing and damaging more, or would you rather have 3 shots that explode and cover a wider area? The choice would be yours, and it would add a lot of flavor and flexibility to a medic's choice of weapons. And we end off with the last of the weapon classes, and unfortunately we don't end on a banger. The Wiper. Now perhaps I could have gone with a more extravagant idea, but I wanted at least one all-class melee reskin in this, so here's the Waker. This wouldn't be just a regular all-class melee reskin though, as it does have some very funny effects, much like the frying pan. It makes a splashing noise whenever it hits an enemy, and causes the enemy to pop in a splash of ink, much like how inklings get splatted. I figured that if you were going to end on an all-class melee, you might as well make it fun, and this would be genuinely a funny addition if Valve ever decided to partner up with Nintendo. Probably would never happen, but you know, it would be cool. So those are all my ideas for today. Do you have any ideas of your own? Let me know down in the comments below. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like. If you hated this video, then I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to that. And most importantly, I'll see you all in the next one.